Welcome. I'm happiness coach Teresa Greco, and this is the Steps to Happiness show. Here, my guests and I talk about the steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. Hello, and welcome to the Steps to Happiness show on 105.9 The Region. I'm your host, Teresa Greco, happiness coach, author, editor, writer, educator, and Reiki Master. Are you ready to take the necessary steps towards true, unwavering inner happiness? If so, the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, you will learn about the principles and practices that lead to true inner happiness, because guess what? It isn't found in our external environment, but within ourselves instead. Together with my guests, we explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices, and together we'll advise you on the actionable steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. Today's show is being brought to you by Chili Moose Premium Coolers and Drinkware. They have all your summer essentials. Chili Moose adventure awaits. Stay tuned throughout the show today because there will be giveaways you'll definitely want to take advantage of. The happiness principle for today's show is about self-love. Self-love can mean something different for each person, but figuring out what self-love looks like for you is an important part of your happiness. What exactly is meant by self-love? Is it egotistical to love oneself? I truly believe that you can't make the people around you happy, and especially when you're not happy yourself. How can you take care of others when you don't take care of yourself? Many of us have been taught since we were very young that we should take care of others before taking care of ourselves. We're proud of forgetting our own needs and making sure others are doing fine. Mothers in particular are guilty of this. I know, I've been there. Running on fumes to ensure everyone is taken care of and feeling guilty when you take just a small amount of time for yourself. Self-love is the act of appreciating oneself that grows from taking action to support all aspects of ourselves, our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. So what can self-love look like? It is definitely talking to and about yourself with love. This is something I wasn't doing for years. The negative self-talk in my head about what I look like, what my abilities were, and what I could accomplish had all been far from me loving myself. I was my worst critic instead of my best cheerleader. And because I wasn't loving myself, I believed that I wasn't lovable either. This affected my relationships with those closest to me. Once I started to love myself, then I started to honor and respect myself and expecting others to do the same. I began to set healthy boundaries, which improved my relationships. I was able to forgive myself and others for times that I didn't show myself the love I deserved. I stopped trying to be everything to everyone else and started being more true to myself. Self-love meant accepting and loving myself completely and unconditionally as I am in this very moment. I believe self-love is the most important condition for living a happy life. When you love yourself, it begins to flow into all aspects of your life and your relationships because love is who you really are. It's your essential nature. Self-love is sharing love and happiness with the people around you because there is love and happiness in abundance. And that leads to a life filled with a whole lot of love. With that being said, I'd like to welcome my first guest on the show. He's a spiritual teacher, life empowerment coach, Reiki Master, and the co-founder of HeartLight, Living from the Heart. Dean Noblett, hello, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Teresa. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So I can see that you're involved in many different types of things. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about what you do?
Well, essentially, my wife and I, Rebecca, who co-founded HeartLight, we help people remember who they are. So many people out there in the world are kind of disconnected and forgotten who they really are at a deep level. So the work we do, and we use many different forums for that, is just to help people connect into their true essence remember who they are, understand what that means, and so they can move forward in their lives with a much greater understanding of who they are and what their purpose is and how they can make a difference in the world. Yeah.
Amazing. So I know that you wanted to talk about self-love today. So in your opinion, what is self-love?
Great question. It's a loaded question. And the thing is, that's a process of discovery. And until you actually understand and remember who you are, you're disconnected from self-love. The two go hand in hand. So when you understand and know who you are, then you're able to shift into self-love, which is self-nurturing, self-care, eliminating the inner critic and realizing that you're a divine being of love, and that all that we have been told or all that we have been indicated when we were young about what we're not, you're lazy or whatever, that's what we tend to take on at a subconscious level and believe that, which is not who we are. It's the exact opposite. So it's a process and a journey. It's a lifelong journey of really understanding who we are and then what self-love is, because self-love ultimately will be what heals this planet and brings us into unity and peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so why is it that you think that a lot of us don't love ourselves the way we should?
Well, when we're younger, we are kind of, we take on our surroundings, our conditions, our parents, our family situation, our school situation, and everything that happens to us and what we experience when we're young, we tend to take on as truth, because it's usually our adults, our parents, our aunts, uncles, friends, this education system tell us certain things about who they think we might be or who we are, and we take that on as truth. So, you know, you're told you're lazy by your dad, or you're not very smart or whatever, then you just take that. I know that's what I did. You take it on as truth, and then you play out that role, and yet it's as far from the truth as you can get. So we tend to take on who we think we are by what other people indicate to us, particularly when we're young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so why do you think that self-love is essential to our happiness?
Well, basically, without self-love, it's impossible to be happy, because most people, and what we were programmed to do, and myself included, was to seek happiness outside of yourself. And we were kind of taught that when we were young, you know, if you're good, we'll give you a reward if you're a good little boy. And then we go, oh, good, I'm happy because I got a reward. But if you're a naughty little boy and you don't get a reward, or you get scolded or what have you, then you're not happy. So we tend to put a lot of our power out to others to indicate when we're happy and not happy. And yet that is always never going to be a constant thing. The happiness comes from within, and it's remembering who we are. And when we do that, it aligns us to an energy that, let's talk about happiness. There's happiness and there has to be sadness. So happiness is a temporary thing usually. But when we can come from a place of self-love, it's a state of being, which means you can be kind of in a state of acceptance or happiness, let's use that word, even when things are tough. You know, when you lose a parent or you lose a child, very hard to choose happiness, right? But when I lost my father, I chose to move into the experience of what that was going to feel like, the sadness, the grief, everything. I opened to that experience. While I wasn't happy in that moment, it was a wonderful experience because of the acceptance of it and me wanting that experience. So in a way, I was totally in harmony with being able to feel that. So this happiness, sadness is an interesting concept. Does that make sense?
Yes, and something interesting that you said is that you allowed yourself the opportunity to experience an emotion outside of happiness, because if happiness is our essential nature, if happiness is really who we are, as you said, a state of being, we can allow ourselves to move out of that, to experience a situation that might bring on sadness or anger or frustration. But then the important aspect is that we return back to who we really are, that we can maybe, I think the more we practice it, we're able to return a lot more quickly to who we really are and that place of peace and happiness, that the more we practice it, that it's very easy to get back there, even when things in our life might pull us away from that. So I think I thought that was an interesting point that you made. So I also wanted to ask you, what can we do to get to a place where we love ourselves unconditionally? What are some of the practices that we can take on to foster that self-love or to reconnect with that self-love?
Well, that's that's a really good question. And a lot of people are starting to understand that we have to, and we've been taught this is a selfish act, but we have to put ourselves first. Meaning, we've all heard the term about the oxygen mask on yourself in a plane. And the reason is we have to look after ourselves so that we can be healthy and in a place where we can then help others. Because if we don't look after ourselves, we're not in a great situation to then be able to help others. So self-love is coming to understand that we are worthy of and deserving of good things, that we look after ourselves, we nurture ourselves, we get out in nature, we do the things that we know we should do that make us feel good. But a lot of the time in our heads, the programming and all the words that we hear are like, you're not good enough. You're not good enough to achieve that. Or, I know you've probably gone through a lot in your journey of where you are now. And it's all about, feeling good enough. Self-love is knowing that we are a perfect design of divinity here in expression, and that happiness is something that it goes deeper, it goes beyond happiness of who we are, because happiness and sadness, they're emotions that we feel to navigate this world and to experience every aspect of living in this world. So we're meant to experience all these emotions. So we are the presence that is behind our emotions and our thoughts, and that is a presence within our body. So we're none of those things. We're not our body, we're not our mind, our thoughts, we're not our emotions. We're that presence, that beautiful energy that is the witness to it, that is beyond that. And when you tap into that place, happiness, contentment, it goes beyond even that. It's just a state of being that whether you're happy or sad, you're actually okay with all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Even
and
anger,
so, And how are you helping people to do that with some of the services that you offer?
Well, we have many different ways of introducing people to it, because it's a long process. It's not something that you can flick your fingers and then overnight you've remembered who you are. Like, I've been working at this for 30 odd years and I'm still coming into clarity about who I am and what's next. And it's an ongoing journey. It's not something that you can do quickly. So we have different programs that we do. Reiki has been a great introduction to people, because Reiki is a journey of self-love. We have a mastery program, a very in-depth program that goes for over a period of 9 months, which is a real journey into your soul, into yourself, into your past and your history and your story, to try and make sense of it all so that we can move into a greater version of ourselves. But we have to step out of our story and everything that we've believed, that we've been told, in order to find and connect with who we are. Because when you're trapped in your story, which most people are, you're trapped in your story. So it's removing people from the story to identify themselves and then understand who they are, and then do all that they can to nurture and nourish themselves and love themselves and feed themselves good food and drink lots of water and exercise and get out in nature and be kind to yourself. All the things that we do to other people, we must do to ourselves. Be kind to ourselves, talk nicely to ourselves, encourage ourselves, be our greatest support, be our greatest fan. Love that little child that's in there, that's still there, that little boy that had a hard time. Love that little child, that little girl immensely, so that that they feel the love that maybe they didn't get when they were young.
Mhm. And I can attest to the fact that when I was introduced to meditation at your center, and just to mention that
Yes.
you'll also attest that I cried every time I came for an entire year, because I was amazed and floored by the amount of love that existed inside of me for myself, and from source or the divine or the universe or whatever word you want to call it, that existed inside of myself that I hadn't been tapping into, that
Yeah.
I had been looking outside for love from others. And it doesn't the love from others is a wonderful thing, but it's only in addition to when you're loving yourself. And in my introduction to today's show, because today's happiness principle is self-love, is that I said, because I wasn't loving myself, I wasn't accepting the love of others as well. So I really felt like I wasn't comprehending even the love from my parents or my siblings or my friends, because I didn't love myself the way that I needed to as well. So I can attest to the fact that meditation was a vehicle and a practice that I used to open up that for me, and Reiki as well. And that was also something that I did at your center with you. So I will tell my listeners that the HeartLight Center is definitely to connect with Dean if you ever considered, where to get started with meditation, or Reiki for that matter, that they are phenomenal. And my experience going through the mastery program was amazing. And I am a much happier and a more loving person to myself first, and to others as well. So I just want to say thank you so much for having guided me as well on my journey. And so I'm so thankful to have you on the show today to share a little bit more about that. I also wanted to ask you, do you think that self-love is the same as self-care?
They go hand in hand for sure, because like as a mother, you're a mother. I'm not, obviously, I'm not even a father, but your job is to, or your role, your purpose is to nurture and look after your child, and take care, self-care, educate them, let them know how special they are and how cool they are. So yes, it is very much caring for yourself, because a lot of people don't, and that's just a disconnect. And I just want to reflect on what you said there, because your words were very, very important, and thank you for that. Is that we can only love another to the extent we love ourselves, and we can only receive love from others to the extent we love ourselves, because if that is not there, we can be shown love on the outside, which can be a temporary thing, but it doesn't really connect if we don't have it within us. And vice versa, if we haven't got that love for ourselves, it's very hard to express love to another, because we haven't got that connection. It's in us, it's in all of us, but it's that connection, that alignment to it, that allows us to then express that to others just naturally, by a natural state of being, just being in our presence and others' presence who have that energy. It's a beautiful thing.
It is. And it's amazing how it then leads to experiencing all the other really beautiful emotions that we are also, right? That we can experience happiness to a greater degree. We can experience calm and peace and joy and fulfillment and all those other great feelings in almost like in a maximum capacity, because we have that love within us. So it's I really think, along with you, that it is that root emotion that then just kind of bleeds into all the other great things. Dean, how can our listeners get in touch with you after the show?
I have two websites where we have www.heartlight.ca, which is HeartLight is the work we do here with Rebecca. We teach meditation. It's about meditation. It's about self-love. It's about remembering. We do that in many different ways. I also have a deannoblett.com. That's kind of a bit more business related. I like to do work with entrepreneurs and small business owners, because helping them understand that they are their business. So whatever's not working in their business, they have to look within themselves to make the adjustments. So because I come from a family business background in Australia, I am working with brothers and fathers, and I understand the dynamics of that and the challenges within that. So we work from both sides. It's a personal, or I do work with people in small business, entrepreneurs, that kind of thing. So they're our websites. It's heartlight@rogers.com, dean@deannoblett.com are our emails address. So we're happy to connect with anybody who wants to reach out.
Thank you. And so you also wanted to offer one lucky listener an exploratory session with you, I believe, as a gift for listening in today.
Sure. 30-minute session where we can just talk about where they're at, what's going on, what they want to achieve. And just through that, we can then decide if it's something that we can help them with. And it's very important to resonate with people who you work with. So there has to be a resonance, there has to be a connection, an energetic connection. So that's what the 30-minute call is about, to see if what we offer resonates with the person, and we can then move forward with working out some options.
Awesome. So to find out more about that, there will be a giveaway post on my Instagram page, which is at Teresa Greco Steps to Happiness. So you can go there and you will see a post with all the details on how to take advantage of that. Thank you, Dean, for being on the show and sharing your insight about the importance of self-love in our lives.
You're very welcome, and it's great to see you glowing, Teresa, and to see and experience what you've been through and where you've come. It's quite extraordinary. So you're awesome. You've done an amazing job, and we thank you for being the love that you are, and now sharing this joy and this happiness and helping other people. So awesome stuff.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Stay tuned after the break. I'll be speaking with Warren Falkenstein, 4-time award-winning inspirational speaker who views his chronic illness and disability as a gift from above to be used to uplift humanity by example through purpose, love, compassion, and service. We will continue here on 105.9 The Region, and you're listening to the Steps to Happiness show with Teresa Greco. Welcome back to the Steps to Happiness show with Teresa Greco. Stay tuned until the end of the show today because we have even more giveaways you'll definitely want to take advantage of. I'm excited to introduce my next guest, Warren Falkenstein. Warren is an award-winning motivational speaker, adversity and mindset-based coach, author, spiritual thought leader, entrepreneur, and energy healer practitioner. Warren, welcome to the show.
Hi, Teresa. Thank you so much for having me today.
So why don't we start off by you telling us a little bit about your story and why you've become a motivational speaker?
Sure, I would love to share that. When I was a child, I was gifted with a disability. And as I grew up, challenges occurred in my life. Like you would never expect, roller coasters to hospital visits and pain and suffering and like you name it. And over time, I lost functionality of my hands and my my extremities were affected. I started using a wheelchair full time. I started using crutches, and because of the spiritual teachings that I grew up with, because of the self motivation that I had, I was able to overcome all of that, and I'm grateful for that. And if I can do it, anybody else can do it, and I believe that. So through whether somebody heals themselves or not, my objective is to help them to find that inner grace, that inner happiness with whatever situation that they're dealing with.
And it's amazing that you started off by saying that you were gifted with a disability. Like that right away just like took my breath, because we don't often hear that. So it's so incredibly inspiring to hear you that despite all of the challenges that you've had and that you continue to live with, that you are able to see it as a gift and be able to share what your challenges, how they how they affect you in a variety of different ways. And so even though physically it's really challenging, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, how does it affect you every day?
Honestly, I face adversity every single day. So every morning when I wake up in the morning, something is going on. And it's not that I expect it, it's I get to deal with it. And, it's not, oh, I have to deal with this now. I get to deal with this now. For example, this morning, personally, my pain tolerance was probably about 7 out of 10. And all of a sudden my elbow was flared up, and because of my condition, okay, so I'm looking forward to coming to join you on the show today. And I was driven and I had purpose. And I just believe that every single time that I wake up, okay, I'm still here. I still have work to do. I still have a purpose. And despite whatever I'm suffering, whatever, I'm able to separate those two things. Of course, I still, respect my body, and I still, I don't fight my disability anymore as I used to, but I managed to find the happiness from what it is that I am, what I have, right? And there's a way that people can do that. There's a way that people can, despite the adversity, despite the challenges, take Viktor Frankl, for example, like to find that meaning, beneath the suffering, beneath the challenges.
And so that was actually leading into my next question, is that how can someone who is facing adversity still find that happiness within them? What are some of the ways that you are helping people to do that?
There's a process, and there's an expression that says happiness is a choice, and it's not that simple, just to choose happiness in a situation. If there's a story that I may share, is that, well, there's a spiritual teaching that I live by that says when a person is happy, the light of the creator rests upon his shoulders. And I heard that as a kid, and I didn't really know what that meant. And you can't just all of a sudden turn on a switch, be I'm happy now, despite whatever is going on in your life. You could have, God forbid, lost somebody or been facing an illness or whatnot. There was a moment in time when I sat there in a room with the community, and all my buttons were being pushed, and I felt depressed and I felt sad, and I just, like, I couldn't go on any further, and I just felt really, really, really low. And I just kept thinking about that saying, and I said, you know what? Okay, what am I grateful for? And it's easy to say that, to start thinking about what you're grateful for, but then it's like, think about the bigger picture, and how many times in my life there was a bigger picture that brought me to point A to point B, and I started connecting the dots in my head. I was like, oh my gosh, like, think about all the miracles that I've got to until this point. I'm still breathing, like everything. I start thinking about more things that I love, my pets, everything. And all of a sudden, it wasn't me this time. It was a divine feeling of happiness that came above me, and it came through me. And it was that saying, that message. I wanted to feel what it felt like to be happy at that moment. And it acted like a force field, like a bubble. And we know how much happiness brings healing, and how much laughter brings healing and all that stuff. So it's like, I can't really afford to be negative. I can't afford to be sad, because it affects my condition. It affects everybody, our energies and all that stuff, right? So if there's one step that anyone could take, it would be, the first thing would be, make a list of things you're grateful for, as simple as it is, before moving on to the next step, before moving on to something. Start playing that music as loud as you can, your favorite song. Get your energy going. You want to raise your vibrations, as they say, your energy. And then you start attracting more of that into your life.
Yes, that's beautiful. So today's happiness principle is self-love. And so I want to ask you, why do you feel self-love is important?
Our bodies are our gift, and so are our souls and our bodies and everything. And there's a saying in the Course of Miracles that says, love is real. Love is the only thing that is real. Love over fear. And our job is to take care of our body temple in this world, right? So when we neglect it, it's not about, depriving yourself of, having something you enjoy. right? It's more about respecting your body and what it's able to do. So, you know, late at night, if you're going to have a Diet Coke, okay, enjoy that Diet Coke, but also remember that like you're taking care of your body temple that is belonging to your soul, right? And your soul needs that to thrive, and your soul needs to drive you. You know, the goal at the end of the day is your soul to drive, you know, be the driver in the wheel. And self-love is so important, because whenever you're hating on yourself or whenever you're criticizing yourself, like, this is a gift from God. This is a gift from the universe, your body. And yeah, our subconscious, our ego gets in the way and all that stuff. But it's so important to get to a stage when you're okay with what it is, that not just okay, but to love what you are. Right. And again, that is definitely a process for sure.
Mhm. And so, can I ask you what makes you happy?
On a physical level, sushi.
Is what? Sorry?
Sushi in terms of food, sushi would be something that
Oh,
makes me happy.
sushi.
Somebody calls me up and says, "What sushi do you want?" And everyone has their favorite food or something that brings. But you know, if I think about it, and Tony Robbins mentions it so many times, progress does make me happy. When I'm moving forward and when I'm in action, when I'm able to do, right? And when I'm able to accomplish things that I wasn't able to accomplish before, or that I think I couldn't do it. You know, just the other day, I was on my hands and knees moving around furniture and just like rearranging my studio. It's just those little things. And the other thing would definitely be, you know, seeing other people happy around me, you know, and as an empath, we all affect each other. And I know that for sure. So when other people are thriving and when other people are happy, or when somebody's having a breakthrough and they're so excited, it's contagious. And, you know, that brings me a lot of joy as well.
Yes, that's true. Warren, how can people best connect with you after the show?
The best way to connect with me is to go to my website, walkwithwarren.com, or just follow me on Instagram, is also at walkwithwarren.
Thank you. And so you wanted to offer 3 lucky listeners today a special gift.
Yes, I would be happy to do that. And you can post the details under this post. If you're listening on the radio, feel free to reach out on my website, and make sure that you follow Teresa as well. And 3 lucky winners will have a one-on-one 45-minute coaching call just with me, or an energy boost session, or a healing session, whatever it is that your soul desires, or just if you're just feeling stuck in any way and you just need that lift or a different kind of perspective shift in your consciousness, I'm happy to serve. I'm happy to be here. So I definitely would take advantage of that.
Thank you. To qualify for this opportunity, visit my Instagram page at Teresa Greco _steps to happiness, and look for the giveaway post for all the details to take advantage of that. Warren, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you, Teresa. It's a pleasure.
Chili Moose Premium Coolers and Drinkware, our sponsor for today's show, also wanted to offer 1 lucky listener their Big Pine Canteen, a 64-ounce insulated stainless steel growler, ideal for keeping drinks cold or hot. To qualify for this opportunity as well, visit my Instagram page at Teresa Greco _steps to happiness, and look for the giveaway post for details. I'm going to leave you with the thought for the day. Today's show is about self-love and what that really means. Although what self-love means for each of us is different, it does mean that you have high regard for your own well-being and happiness. For many people, self-love is just another way to say self-care. When we listen to our bodies, we take breaks from work and we move and stretch. We put down the phone and connect with others or ourselves. And maybe it's just doing something creative or getting out into nature. Self-love means loving yourself just as you are and putting your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being first, so that we can be more for ourselves and for others. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to being with you again next Saturday.
Interested in happiness and spiritual coaching and workshops? Go to teresagreco.ca. Email stepstotruehappiness@gmail.com. Follow on Instagram, Teresa Greco _steps to happiness, or on Facebook at Steps to True Happiness with Teresa Greco. This is the Steps to Happiness Show on 105.9 The Region.